Today I'll tell you about this captivating movie called Equals. It's a mix of drama, romance, and sci-fi that explores a unique world where emotions are forbidden. Brace yourselves for a spoiler-filled journey. Today, we're diving into a love story that defies the rules. In this film, love isn't confined to just one definition. It could be for yourself, your loved ones, your passions, or even in things you never imagined. But what if love is taken away? That's the question our protagonists, who defy the rules, set out to answer. Picture this: a futuristic society where there's no room for violence or crime, thanks to a well-functioning system. Everyone has a role in this peaceful community known as members, all guided by an administration called the Collective. Now, meet Silas, an ordinary guy living his life in this seemingly perfect world. Silas begins his day in a room where even the bed smoothly melds into the walls. His routine is a seamless dance, showering, donning a plain white uniform, and sipping on a liquid for breakfast. In this tranquil city, other members move silently, their interactions limited to mere passing glances on their way to work. The walls flicker with a video, a constant reminder to report any deviation from the norm. The Collective exerts a powerful influence, discouraging emotions at every turn. A hint of a smile, a frown, or a shaky hand can lead to arrest. Strangely, the members seem accepting of this oppression, maintaining a calm demeanor as if they are complicit in their own control. At the train station, a stream of members flows through a gate. Silas engages in a courteous exchange with a woman. His profile reveals he works as an illustrator for the company Atmos. Silas gets onto the train and sits in front of a screen. The Collective sends out a warning about a sickness called SOS, or switched-on syndrome, which brings back feelings to those whose emotions are usually kept in check. Silas doesn't pay much attention to the caution and keeps watching the news. This strange sickness might be a sign that something is about to change in Silas's life. At Atmos, Silas goes to his work desk. While he's working on his digital art, he listens to a documentary about the Great War. This war caused a split between the Collective and a place called the Peninsula. The people in the Peninsula have more chaos and less development because they don't suppress their emotions. In a meeting, a writer named Nia suggests making changes to a project they are all working on. Later that day, the employees eat their meals side by side, sitting really close. Two co-workers engage in gossip about a colleague who recently returned from conception duty. Unlike the traditional method of reproduction, the Collective has embraced artificial insemination as a more efficient process. This reflects the extreme measures taken to prevent emotional connections among people. Even in matters of reproduction, safeguards are in place to discourage physical intimacy. Life in this society lacks the sensual touch, the release of tension, and the joy of creating life. Curious, Silas inquires about where they plan to watch the upcoming spacecraft landing. On his way home, he observes a sick couple being escorted by safety officers. Entering his unit, Silas selects the Eat option on the wall, prompting a counter and his closet to slide out. He consumes his pre-prepared meal and engages in his nightly ritual of solving puzzles. From an external view, Silas's neighbors mirror his routine. The next day, Silas tunes into the news about a couple destined for a defective emotional neuropathy facility, DEN, due to infection. The Collective urges members to report signs of SOS. While Silas is immersed in his work, an employee collapses nearby. People inspect the incident, yet no emotions are displayed. Suddenly, Nia silently reveals her frustration, catching Silas's attention. Later, at a watch party for the spacecraft landing, Atmos employees are engrossed in the display, but Silas's focus is on Nia. Her emotional reaction raises questions about whether she truly has emotions. As Silas contemplates his gut feeling, he finds himself beginning to experience emotions. Inside Silas's mind, a surge of unfamiliar hormones sparks a reaction, presenting him with a choice: resist or embrace. Slowly, he finds himself regaining the capacity to feel, a sensation entirely new to him. Uncertain of how to navigate this newfound emotional territory, Silas grapples with the unknown. Back at home, anxiety accompanies Silas's dinner as thoughts of Nia consume him, disrupting even his nightly puzzle routine. In a work meeting, Silas is visibly preoccupied, apologizing for his distraction before returning to explain his work. In his unit, Silas experiences a vivid dream of standing on a building's edge, teetering on the brink. Startled awake, he runs straight into a wall, disoriented and alarmed. The next day, he discovers a bruise on his forehead. At a health center, Silas witnesses a woman shedding tears while watching a video about SOS. Silas discovers there are 4 escalating stages of SOS, each more perilous than the last. Jonas, his fellow patient, inquires about Silas's stage, prompting him to claim he's only there for a routine checkup. Jonas reveals he's at stage 2 of SOS. In the doctor's office, Silas discloses his unsettling nightmare. The blood test confirms his fears. He's positive for SOS. Concerns about being sent to a defective emotional neuropathy (DN) facility flood Silas, but the doctor reassures him they're actively developing a cure. Fear permeates the community, as the normal human emotions they're designed to feel now terrify them. The collective's propaganda effectively instills the belief that something is fundamentally wrong with them. Here, irony surfaces. The collective, seemingly incapable of emotions, instills fear of SOS in its members. At the station, Silas scans himself, revealing that he's now in stage 1 of SOS. At the office, a curious coworker notices Silas's bruise and questions him. To avoid judgment, Silas fibs, claiming it resulted from a Tai Chi class. Skepticism arises, but Nia intervenes, supporting his false narrative. This reinforces Silas's suspicions about Nia, suggesting she may also be grappling with SOS. During lunch, Nia captures a bumblebee, using it to explain how bees fly. Silas, captivated by her beauty, can't help but gaze at her. Later, at a health center, he collects his shades and medication. Back home, he watches an instructional video for SOS-infected individuals. Silas delves into the genetic cause of his illness, a malfunction in the gene meant to suppress emotions and eliminate human flaws. This malfunction leads to behavioral differences. The only solution, for now, is an inhibitor pill, delaying their inevitable transfer to a DN facility until a cure is found. The next day brings challenges for Silas as SOS takes its toll. At first, he feels anxious, struggles to concentrate, and becomes sad. Then, he becomes sensitive to light. His productivity decreases, hinting at the progression towards the final stage of SOS, where those infected will have a pain-free end. In a shared bathroom, Silas and Nia briefly cross paths. Silas watches Nia from a distance throughout the day, but she remains unaware. When Nia enters her living space, Silas misses the chance to talk to her. Alone in his room, Silas makes a big decision. He stops taking the inhibitor pills. SOS quickly changes Silas, disrupting his usual calm demeanor. Nia acts as a catalyst, drawing Silas in with an allure that could be a biological need, a primal urge, or just his first crush. Silas desires to be close to her, but his restrained self compels him to merely observe for the time being. The next day, Silas gathers the courage to approach Nia, asking her to check his work. To make an excuse to interact with her, he swapped tasks with a coworker. Nia notices his unusual behavior, but agrees to help. While Nia examines a drawing of a lander on another planet, Silas feels a strange sensation, captivated by her lips and smooth skin. After Nia gives her feedback, Silas leaves feeling content. Late at night, driven by a growing fascination, Silas enters the empty office. Opening Nia's work desk, he listens to her voice memos, absorbing every tone and nuance. These echoes follow him to bed and into his dreams. In another meeting, Silas accidentally spills his drink. A coworker returns the shades he dropped, accidentally exposing Silas's secret to the team. Finally, Silas musters the courage to admit his sickness, reassuring his coworkers that SOS isn't something they can catch. Nia decides that Silas should be on his own for a while. To try and comfort him, they share their thoughts and prayers. Now, Silas sits by himself in a corner, away from everyone else. People with the disease face unfair treatment. They're seen as less effective, and the healthy folks don't realize how poorly they treat them. The belief in efficiency and superiority dominates, as they're led to think that without feelings, there's no room for empathy and understanding. However, when Silas reveals his illness, there's a contradiction. They express empathy and concern, offering thoughts and prayers, showing sympathy and care for his well-being. As their shift ends, Silas continues to observe Nia. Suddenly she confronts him, threatening to report him if he doesn't stop. Silas accuses Nia of having SOS, but she denies it. Silas suggests that if Nia wasn't infected, she would have reported him already. Nia ignores Silas and leaves. Surprisingly, the next day, Silas and Nia act as if nothing happened. During lunch, Nia notices Silas looking lonely. She tries her best to avoid him, even during the meeting, where she stands alone, anxiously fidgeting with her hands. Later that day, they find themselves alone in the office, and tension builds between them, leading Nia to leave. Silas follows her to the bathroom, entering the stall she's in. They stand face to face, both unsure of the emotions stirring within them. Silas reaches out, touching Nia's trembling hands and face. In a moment of connection, Nia leans in, and they share the warmth of each other's embrace. Nia confesses that she's been infected for over a year. Feeling alone and scared, she managed to control herself, but the fear of getting caught still looms large. Nia decides they can't be together, choosing to wait for the cure. Silas accepts this reality, but not before stealing a kiss. The next day, Nia interacts with her co-workers, but her thoughts are fixed on Silas. When they find themselves alone again, Silas watches her, his gaze filled with desire. He follows her, and they share a private moment, breathing heavily on each other's skin. Nia hesitates, but Silas's desires persist. They explore new boundaries, touching parts they've never touched before, and the fear of getting caught heightens their emotions. The bathroom stall becomes their secret escape from the everyday stress. Each look and forbidden moment encourages them to experiment, building a deeper connection on the foundation of intimacy. It's the first confession, the first person they can truly be themselves with, and the first shoulder to lean on, cry on, and laugh with. As they grew closer, Silas and Nia discovered not only each other, but also gained insight into their own complexities, imperfections, and the human need for companionship. Their intimate moment in the bathroom is interrupted by their manager, who questions Silas about suicidal thoughts, to which Silas responds that he might consider it at the next stage of SOS. Leaving the bathroom, the manager notices Nia's desk is on, suspecting Silas is snooping and threatening to report him if he doesn't stop. After another workday, Silas hesitates to follow Nia to the bathroom, and she waits in vain. Later, they discuss the manager's notice of their unusual behavior. Nia suggests ending their interaction, but Silas can't bear the thought of seeing her at work every day without being with her. He decides to resign from Atmos and find work elsewhere. Nia leaves without saying a word. At her home, Nia experiences a nervous breakdown. Silas faces the morning with a somber mood, eventually going to work to submit his resignation. He explains the career change as a desire to work in an environment where his sickness won't trouble others. After some time, Nia meets Silas's replacement, Dominic. Silas starts a new job at a nature sanctuary. Nia struggles with the separation, haunted by reminders of Silas, especially when she sees his cup. During a team lunch, Nia becomes irritated by Dominic's pretentious statements. In her unit, she clings to Silas's cup, then sits in the shower, longing for her lover's touch. The loss of their special connection takes a toll on Nia's mental health. Having grown dependent on the relationship, its sudden end proves challenging for her. Switching off the pent-up emotions is not as simple as turning a switch. Feeling a need to clear his mind, Silas goes for a walk and bumps into Jonas, who joins him. Silas confides in Jonas about his relationship with Nia. Jonas shares a similar experience, revealing that his love story also ended tragically. Jonas informs Silas that Nia is part of a group called Hiders, a collective of self-diagnosed infected individuals fighting SOS without medication. He invites Silas to a support group, and Silas agrees to join. Back at Atmos, Dominic encourages Nia to provide him with an article to illustrate. Despite her tired appearance, Nia asks for some time and thanks Dominic for his patience. Silas discreetly attends the support group meeting with Jonas, introducing him to everyone. During the session, a man expresses fears about the den facility. Silas inquires about what happens inside the den, and Bess reveals that half the people who enter the den end up taking their own lives. The other half of those who enter the den are restrained and subjected to emotion-suppressing treatments. Bess, also a hider like Nia, reveals that as a doctor, she oversees the mercy killings. Rather than intervening, she accompanies the infected, providing them with the assurance that they are not alone. Many in the group express a desire to return to a state of emotional numbness, as feelings make their lives unbearable. Silas ponders deeply about their perspective. Returning to his dwelling, Silas finds Nia at his door. He calms the frustrated Nia, and they passionately reconnect, savoring each other's touch. After the forbidden experience, they reflect on love. Initially fearing the emotion, time has allowed their connection to flourish. They vow not to stay apart. During the day, they'll act like strangers, but at night, they'll be lovers. Forbidden love, they realize, is a powerful emotion that encourages rebellion. As partners in their secret alliance, the couple is ready to take risks in the utopian society for a life that feels truly alive. Discovering the joy of caring for someone has transformed their once dull world into one filled with vibrant colors. A question arises about giving up freedom to live in a utopia. Would you trade your feelings for a chance at paradise? Or would you prefer to keep your emotions even if it means living in chaos? Perhaps there's a middle ground? Concealing their love while still cherishing it. In the following days, they behave more like a couple in private, going on secret dates and learning about each other. They share meals, showers, and their dreams and passions. Silas decides to stop taking medication, realizing that Nia's love is the only remedy he needs. Meanwhile, Nia excels at work, returning to her former self. Despite their reunion, Silas is determined not to keep their love hidden from the world. In an unusual turn, Nia performs well at work, unlike Silas. While heading to work, a crowd forms around a display where the collective announces a cure for SOS, aiming to halt the disease's spread. Despite this breakthrough, Silas and Nia find little joy in the news. They dread the idea of losing the ability to feel and the prospect of being torn apart from each other. Silas and Nia reject the cure, both unwilling to give up their emotions. Silas takes Nia to the support group, sharing their plan to escape to the peninsula. Despite attempts to dissuade them, their love for each other remains steadfast. In a final effort to change their minds, Bess recounts the story of a man who went to the peninsula, presumed dead. However, this narrative fails to sway the couple, and Jonas agrees to assist them. Driven by the slightest hope of being together, Silas and Nia are prepared to risk everything for that chance. Despite the dangers in the peninsula, they are determined to make their plan succeed. Even when exhausted, hungry, and battered, love becomes their lifeline. The human desire for love and companionship proves remarkable. Faced with potential death, Nia and Silas choose love over the promise of paradise. The following day, Jonas discreetly shares the details of the couple's escape plan, wishing Silas good luck. In their dwelling, they discuss the plan, feeling the pressure with 3 days until the escape. Fears of failure loom, but the greater fear is not being together. Nia approaches the gate for scanning, but suddenly an alarm blares, and a safety officer approaches her. At the sanctuary, Nia tells Silas that she's summoned for conception duty, restricted from using the trains. Silas assures her that the doctor will likely recommend the cure after diagnosing her. They plan to meet after her checkup. At the doctor's office, Nia undergoes a blood test, questioning the possibility of having SOS. To her surprise, the doctor reveals she's pregnant. This revelation is surreal for Nia. Not only is their love bringing a child into the world, but it's also one of the rare natural pregnancies in a long time. The challenges ahead raise the question, will their love be enough? Or will the child they've conceived become the turning point for everything? Silas anxiously waits at the designated spot, but when he visits the health center, he witnesses safety officers taking Nia away. Nia finds herself restrained and defeated in the den facility. Silas discovers the reason behind Nia's removal. In an empty room, medical personnel approach Nia, and as they pass the corridors, Bess catches a glimpse of her. Nia lies in a room with a mesmerizing wall and a vaccine beside her, facing an uncertain fate. A man updates Jonas on the situation, and Jonas waits outside to meet with Silas. Jonas plans to contact Bess to help get Nia out of the den facility. Silas, feeling restless, struggles to sit idly, but Jonas urges him to remain calm and trust the plan. In his dwelling, Silas anxiously awaits updates. With the morning light, Silas dons his old uniform and sets out. Meanwhile, Bess successfully frees Nia. She guides Nia to a room where Jonas and his colleagues await. As Nia gets dressed, Bess explains that she'll switch identities with a woman who recently took her own life. They use a tool to change Nia's identity. Grateful, Nia thanks Bess and rushes to the station, smoothly passing through the gates. Simultaneously, Jonas and the group face safety officers. Exiting the elevator, they encounter a vaccinated member of the support group who betrayed them. Nia arrives at Silas's apartment, only to find it empty. Silas watches the news of Jonas and the group's arrest in disbelief. Desperate for information, he rushes to the den facility and asks a gatekeeper about Nia, who informs him that she has passed away. Silas, overcome with grief, breaks down in tears in a tunnel. Meanwhile, Nia grows impatient waiting for Silas and searches the sanctuary for him without success. A regrettable decision has caused unnecessary pain for Silas and anxiety for Nia. Silas believes he has lost the love of his life, unaware that she is just a train ride away. In this moment of profound despair, he may be driven to regrettable actions. The classic Romeo-Juliet dilemma has befallen these star-crossed lovers. In Atmos, Silas climbs onto the rooftops. Despite standing on the edge, mirroring his dream, he resists stepping off. Hopelessness consumes him as Nia returns to her unit. As night falls, Silas finally reunites with Nia. However, his silence isn't a sigh of relief, but a realization of the grave mistake he made. With only 5 hours until he loses all emotion, Nia urges Silas to fight the cure and proceed with their escape plan. As time passes, Silas begins to lose his emotions and asks Nia to continue loving him even as he changes. Morning arrives, and Silas, dressed up, gazes outside. Nia questions if he still loves her. Silas, recalling the love they shared, confesses that the feelings have vanished. Nevertheless, they decide to continue with their plan to go to the peninsula. On an escalator, Nia observes the emotionless Silas standing in front of her. On the train, they sit silently, resembling the strangers they once were. Nia cries, recalling their moments in the bathroom. Suddenly, Silas approaches. The two sit face to face, reliving a familiar feeling. Silas then reaches out and touches her hand. The brief hours spent together, attempting to combat Silas's loss of emotions, pale in comparison to the lifetime they'll have to regain the love they lost. With Silas touching Nia's hand, deep down, he acknowledges that he still loves her. All the firsts, memories, and the child Nia carries aren't solely tied to emotions. In the end, love is not a matter of if and how, but a matter of when. Thanks for tuning in, guys.